G'day, I'm Scott Poynton and welcome to another Scott Poynton podcast. And today I'm talking to Josh Beaumont, and Josh is in faraway Ocean Grove, not far from Melbourne, and he works for Cricket Victoria. How are you, Josh?
Good, Scott. How are you?
Yeah, I'm pretty good, mate. And it's a bit different weather, I think. Well, I don't know if it's different weather. You got winter over there, but we're not having much of a summer here in Switzerland. We've got a lot of rain happening.
Yeah, it's fairly cold here as well, unfortunately.
Fairly cold. Not much outdoor cricket being played. So tell us what you do at Cricket Victoria, Josh.
I'm a club and competition specialist, so my work is really to support our staff having conversations with clubs and associations about a range of different club development initiatives. So anything from child safety to, delivering and supporting conversations on raising revenue or grant applications. So pretty broad topic. Get to work with a lot of different stakeholders, which is great, and get put in a lot of different projects.
Look, it's two Aussies talking. We both know about cricket, but just let us, we've got people listening from all over the world and they've heard about this bizarre game of cricket that can take 5 days and get no result. But cricket's huge in Australia, isn't it? I mean, to be working in Victoria, one of the states there, one of the strong cricketing states in Australia. Just tell us a bit about cricket's role in society, mate. So, because I know that you're part of the community cricket and key stakeholders team, and it's an important role that cricket plays in Australian society. Just tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, so I guess our goal is to be Victoria's favourite sport. And a sport for all Victorians. So and I think that's really important. It's a big summer tradition in Australia to play the game of cricket. And I think the Boxing Day test of the MCG is a tradition of its own. With people flocking after Christmas to watch Australia play. Whoever comes across.
People come from all over the world for it, don't they?
Yeah, they do. Yeah, they do. This year we have the Ashes.
Ooh, that's Australia, England.
It is. It's Australia, England, and unfortunately, I'm assuming, given COVID, we probably won't be having too many tourists from England in, which would be disappointing because they always provide some entertainment. But yeah, it's a massive part, I think, of the fabric of community, across Australia in the summer, particularly for those that play in the summer. Those up in the north play during their dry season in our winter in the southern states. But it's where people can come and connect from about September, October till March.
And you mentioned a sport for all Victorians. I mean, when I grew up, really cricket was a game for lads. Of course, there was a women's team. We didn't hear anything about it, which is amazing because, they were playing test cricket, but it just never got in the papers. It's like they didn't exist, but that's changed, hasn't it, mate? I mean, there's a huge women's competition now in Australia and in the world. And we, this time, well, a bit last year in March, just before the COVID lockdown, we had the Australian women winning the World Cup there at the MCG. And so it's really exploded now in terms of so many more people playing the game, isn't it?
Yeah, I was very fortunate to go to that game. The Women's World Cup final. And yeah, it was an amazing experience. And I guess this culmination, I think a lot of dedication from people to really lift the profile of women's sports, and it's really flowing into local competitions. You're seeing, girls playing their own teams, not just in boys competitions or mixed gender competitions. So, there's girls only competitions, there's women's competitions. My mum played last season.
Is that right?
For her first time. It was team manager and very late fill in for the games that they were a little short. And
how'd she go?
She loved it.
Did she?
I think everyone at the club that participated in that team had a great time. Just enjoyed the company with each other, learning new skills. It was, I think, one of their favourite things. And my dad was the coach as well. So
brilliant.
It was cricket all year round, for cricket all summer round. There wasn't many days they weren't there.
Good on you. Yeah. So look, how did you get into this? Like, I think a lot of young kids who love sport would dream of having the sort of job that you've got. But where'd you grow up, mate? And just tell me a bit about your childhood and your love of sport and how you found your way here into this most interesting of jobs.
Yeah, so I grew up in Geelong. My dad's a cricket fanatic, and my mum's just enjoyed being, I think, around the cricket clubs throughout the time. I can remember Dad playing out in North Geelong, and I'd come along to training on a Thursday night and hit balls with other kids that fathers were also practicing, and started playing at probably 8. and just continued from there. We moved to New Zealand for a period of time for my mum's work, which was a fantastic experience. And I think there I probably grew a love of probably sport more broadly, and how does sport really give you the opportunity to just enjoy yourself with a group of friends, and that's what it came. I played everything in high school when we moved to Wellington. I think I played everything from badminton to basketball, to volleyball, to hockey,
rugby, no doubt.
Sports. I did play rugby very poorly, and that got hung up to play soccer. So I really tried everything, and just to play with mates and learn new skills. So moving to New Zealand was a really good life experience. I think it was an opportunity. Like, I had a lot of different thoughts to the end of my high schooling there about what I would do, and things ranging from accounting to teaching. And I finally landed on sports coaching and was meant to go to Canterbury University in Christchurch. And unfortunately, I was there for one of their really big earthquakes back in, would have been 2011, I think, and thought that this is not for me. I'd like to get out of sort of constant aftershocks. So moved back to Geelong to live with my parents again, and was fortunate enough that the local university deacon was happy to quickly enrol me about 2 days after the semester had already started to back into a sport development course. And I think, by chance that sort of set off probably the next part of the career, or my learning from going from someone who wanted to probably be a coach to someone who got to look at the business side of sport as well as the exercise and performance side of it as well. So came back and continued to play cricket at a local club, and really heavily involved in that, and volunteered in other sports as well. So helped at an Australian Rules Football Club as a sports trainer, was on the committee of my local club, and also coached a rep team and a junior cricket team. So I was heavily involved from a non-playing aspect as well, and continued my studies, and had the opportunity to go to the UK to play cricket for 6 months. And my mother's family's from the UK, so I got to, I guess, see relatives that had come to Australia before, but I didn't get to meet them in their homeland, and see where the family's from, and where my dad went and played cricket when he went to the UK, and see those friends again was great, and probably had that learning opportunity to move away from home and be a bit disconnected and on your own a little bit more to learn. And I played in a very low standard of cricket, but I think it was all about the fun and the camaraderie that you got to have over there with different people. Then came back and completed my Masters of Sport Management from Deakin University. And I was actually lucky, probably a year into that course, there was a job that I applied for at Cricket Victoria, which I didn't get an interview for, but it put my resume in the hands of the people making decisions. And one thing led to another. There was another vacancy that opened up, and I was able to jump into that, and have been there for 5.5 years. And, cricket's been a big part of my life. It's an even bigger part of my life now. It's 9 to 5 plus extra. So I enjoy that. It's a sport that's, I think will be a part of me for the rest of my life, no matter if I'm still at Cricket Victoria or not.
Yeah, it gets in your blood, doesn't it? It really does.
Yeah, you don't realise, how much you just flick on the cricket news, or you watch a highlight here, or you're practicing your batting with no equipment.
Shadow batting.
And people are looking, shadow batting, and people are looking at, what are you doing? I'm just a fanatic.
You mentioned many times there, mate, in that you talked about community, you talked about mates and friends, family. This is obviously something, it strikes me every time we talk, this comes up again and again. And I know you've recently moved out of Melbourne to be closer to your family. What does that mean for you?
Yeah, I think just the time that you get to spend with family, I think you reflect upon it afterwards. And I think it's that ease that you sort of sit in the chair in the room and you're having dinner or something, and you're just present. I feel I'm probably just a bit more present with them, and just really enjoy being around my family. And being, in Melbourne, we probably didn't have as many closer connections. We certainly had friends that lived nearby, but, we probably didn't have that greater sense of community that that we probably have now down in Ocean Grove. And, country Victoria, whilst we live in a city, we're in more regional Victoria. There is a greater sense of connection to sporting clubs and the community togetherness that you sort of find. So I really enjoy that, coming back here and being close to friends and doing things that, probably were a little bit too much of an effort from Melbourne to see friends locally. So I think they help keep the friends and family, help keep you grounded and distract you from other parts of life that such as work that you need time to decompress from, and you make plans that are good, healthy, sustainable things for your mental and physical well-being.
Yeah, well, let's talk about that. You in Victoria in particular, in Australia's had an interesting journey through the COVID pandemic. Not so many cases, not so many deaths, but achieving those low numbers has been a pretty tough response, particularly in Victoria, with a lot of lockdowns, a lot of extended lockdowns, and people being stuck at home, and so that sense of being able to get out and see people. I know you've been out of lockdown now for a while, but wasn't so long ago. I think a month ago you had to go back in for a week, and I know it's been tough. My brother lives over near Melbourne and Frankston, and he just said, the mental health issues are, the statistics are coming through now, as people look back in mental health, suicide issues, domestic violence, drug abuse, these things are going through the roof. Are you seeing that in your community, mate? And what about your own personal experience? Like, how's it been for you? Someone who's obviously so connected through to your family and part of your community. How's that journey been for you?
It's interesting because I can certainly see how people, it would have, the mental health issues are massive, and the time away, and I guess there's a bit of the media spin, but the way that it's talked about, as well, broadly, that pandemic and its impact of people. I personally, whilst I would have loved to be closer to family during the main lockdowns, I'm personally thinking more conscious of, I don't want to impact my family or friends in a negative way. And I actually had that, I was quite conscious that living in Melbourne, knowing that we're probably with a denser population, that, I am probably more likely to catch something. And if I were to come back, I wouldn't want to put that on my family. So that probably got me through the lockdown, but not to say it didn't have impacts. You're in a tight location with, in my case, my partner, and, in a really good relationship, but that can be difficult as well, because there's probably only so much time she can put up with my antics.
All the shadow batting. What are you doing?
Yeah, exactly. The shadow batting, or the times I stay silent because I just have a moment to think. And so it also impacts in probably ways that you don't think about. I actually probably learned a lot about myself during that time, and how I best work and what's really important to me. Like, it gave me a really, and this is why we've moved, in short. Like, whilst the pandemic's not going to be here forever, part of it was that we were able to reassess what was really important in our lives, and what was the next stage in life, and what did that look like, and where was that best to be lived, and where were we going to be as happy. And we loved living in Yarraville. It had so much to offer for us. We were able to walk up to a really thriving village that had great restaurants, cafes, cinemas, heaps of things to do. But there were other things that we couldn't get that we really wanted, and that time probably gave us a sense of what's important to us, and got to work on a plan to make it a reality. So we're really fortunate in that sense. But you can see how that period, it was such a long period of time. You forget how long it was that we were in isolation, or disconnect from other people. The impact that can have on people, and making sure that you check in. I think really fortunately the team that we worked with at Cricket Victoria were really good at connecting. And I think that probably helped me a lot, is being able to speak to people during the day in calls like this, and talk about life's issues, and get things off your chest, which some people might not have, and we're really lucky to have that sort of network in a work capacity, where you might have a meeting, but your first 5 minutes are talking about what's going on, how you're tracking, and just being able to connect and relate to each other's situation.
Yeah. And it was a tough time for the team too, wasn't it? Because with the cancellation of the World Cup and various competitions, it meant the revenue collapsed. So there had to be some job losses, some cuts, and that hit your team pretty hard. You lost 2/3 of a team that had come out of the previous season, the cricket season, the previous summer, 2019-20, having achieved all their results. No one lost their job because they were performing poorly. You lost a lot of people who'd been hardworking, extraordinary, great teammates, and that's where we came together, isn't it? Where we're talking with John Watkin, the leader of the team then, and this idea of just having a bit of a chat, a bit of a listening session, hear what people have got to say, get some stuff off their chest. And how did you find that, mate? I know from my experience of talking to the team that we had that period of 3 or 4 months where we checked in 4 or 5 times, I think, and seems to me to be. You had an extraordinary team of people, the ones that remained. I think there was only about 24 of you from a team initially of about 70 folks. So it really hit you hard. But it seemed this team really bound together. And I'm interested in that. I don't doubt that there was a couple of personalities there that everyone's got some issues and maybe not everyone gelled 100%. But it seemed that you as a team, that team just really came together and getting some stuff off your chest and talking about things helped you find a way forward. How was the experience of all that, mate?
Yeah, what I think that the sessions really enabled us to do and it helped set the scene was, I think, the vulnerability that people were able to show, and it really humanised the experience for everyone because we all knew the impact it had on others outside, those that left, and there was a lot of people, and that was pretty hard to see happen and see the impact that had on people's lives. People who'd contributed a lot to cricket over many years and had put forward, a lot of service.
Had families and kids and all that sort of mortgages and all sorts of things, right? A lot of pressures on them.
Yeah, displacing people and, a lot of pressure on people's lives and with the uncertainty of what other job prospects there might be in the future. Where can you go, particularly those who wanted to stay in sport. Right. A tough market to crack outside of a pandemic, it made it even harder. Fortunately for those that I have heard from, I think most are in a pretty good place now, which is great from a career perspective. But I think what the sessions enabled us to do from that was people to be vulnerable about what happened and share openly and honestly, not in an aggressive way, but just to get things off their chest. And I guess in that structured environment and that supported environment, knowing that this is, we've come together as a group, and our leader John at the time, saw that was a really important thing for us to do. I guess helped us see each other's vulnerability and then enabled us to continue to share and talk about these sort of topics, maybe not to the depth as that all the time, but just to open up a little bit, which gave us greater perspective of, different people's life circumstances and how they work best and how can we continue to work towards goals together from a business perspective. How can we just be, I think the great thing about the team is, a lot of us would probably be friends outside of work. It's just that we all happen to work together, and that helps us work together really well. It doesn't mean we all see eye to eye on all the same topics, but we all have a really clear mutual respect for each other. And I think that session really set up that year. And, whether it was, those at senior management level or those that, are more at the junior end, we were all able to come to an understanding of where we're all at and, how can we best work together as a team and banding together to achieve a common goal. Because we all, whilst we had a reduction in staff, we all wanted to achieve a lot for cricket. Like, I think that's, the team comes to work knowing that, we want to achieve good things for the community because that's what they want from us. They want, they may want support on certain programs or help on certain questions they might have. And, whether we want, I know the people I work want to be there for them and support them to achieve good things for their community.
It's a service role, isn't it? You're there to serve, isn't it? You're not,
yeah.
Some jobs are all about making as much money as you can and it's very oriented to what you can get out of it. Whereas, my sense of what you all do at Cricket Victoria, it really is a service function in that community team. You're there to help others and you're there to help communities thrive. And as we've discussed, this is really something that's important to you personally. And having chatted with so many of the team, I get a sense that it is this binding spirit that brings you all together. Like, you're there to do something good for the community and to bring cricket to, well, sport really, but of course it's focused on cricket, but to bring that sense of community to others. And we set up a cricket club here in Switzerland for kids, and just seeing the smile on kids' face when they go out there to bat or, grapple with a challenge if they don't do too well, and, the whole team gets around them and supports them. And these are life lessons, aren't they? I mean, they're really helping young people, and of course not just young people. You mentioned your mum. Older generation people find joy in teamwork, in community spirit, and you must have a lot of moments in your working life where you just come home at night filled up, don't you, mate? I mean, I imagine you do.
Yeah, well, I was really lucky to do some work recently, doing some workshops with kids, particularly about their safety, and trying to figure out how can clubs speak to them in a way that encourages them to share their ideas and feel empowered to speak about issues that are important to them. And to hear that sort of information directly from kids about their experience in cricket, which all was really positive, but then also really constructive of things, really simple things that clubs could do to, make their environment maybe a little bit more welcoming for kids. Maybe because they haven't asked the question, that's not that they've done something wrong. It's just, it probably hasn't crossed people's mind before. Why don't we ask the kids what would help them and keep them to stay? And what we saw is the kids we spoke to, and particularly the older kids, like, these clubs have got some leaders for the future sitting right there ready to go.
Right.
Like, they are, incredibly intelligent, understanding, want, the club to grow for all the really right reasons,
Not just to win pennants and titles, but to actually see community grow. And
yeah, we had one club, and a girl raised, well, why can't we have people with a disability play on our team? And so she was trying to start this conversation at, would have been 11 or 12 about how do we make this happen?
Wow.
And, it was an amazing moment to have someone at that age just to really stand and go, look, I think, this would be really great for us. And those ideas, I guess you don't get them if you don't ask.
Right.
And kids have got some great ideas that could really be implemented quite simply. So that's been one thing recently that I came back from, and I either sit back in the car on the way home and just think and go, like, how
good is that?
This is probably the most enjoyable piece of work I've been involved in.
Yeah. No, marvellous. I remember, we had coaching sessions. We had Cricket Victoria people come over. John set it up. He came over once too. We had other Cricket Victoria coaches come and do training sessions with the kids. And we had a 3-day, about 5 summers in a row, I think we had 3-day session with Cricket Victoria coaches. I remember on the last evening, we'd go off somewhere to have a meal. Everyone had come for a barbecue or somewhere, and you just didn't want it to end. You woke up the next morning like, couldn't we have had a 4th day? Like, what am I going to do today? I'm a bit lost, because just being out there with the kids and seeing them have fun, and it was just such an enriching experience. And kids from all over the world. We're very lucky here in Switzerland. There's kids from all over the world, but I'm sure this is what you're finding in Victoria as well, mate. I mean, Australia is such a multicultural nation now, and I don't know, but maybe some of the challenge for some of the cricket clubs is maybe old white guys running them, and maybe I can speak from my own experience. I remember what I used to do when I played cricket. We were surrounded by, all white Aussies out in rural Victoria playing cricket, and I guess it's changed a lot now. You're seeing that, mate? Lots of different, as you say, just people with disabilities, people with, different cultural backgrounds, all sorts of things coming into the game now.
Yeah, there is. And I think I certainly had my eyes open from a personal perspective moving into the western suburbs of Melbourne. So, the demographic of Geelong is probably a bit more of what you spoke about before. In general, it's, probably a more white population, a Caucasian population, and moving to the west suburbs, the multiculturalism was amazing, and just a really great experience, because there's so many different things that you learn about cultures and that are just so fascinating and amazing to hear about and learn. And that's been one of the great things about working at Cricket Victoria, I think, is that personal aspect of learning about these people with range of different abilities and how they play cricket. We were fortunate enough to one session at work during a conference to play blind cricket.
Right.
with glasses on that gave you different vision impairments. And we had a Australian player, Australian blind cricketer, come and show us the way. And the pace that he was able to bowl the ball was incredible. And trying to bat
with vision impairment,
with vision impaired guys, and trying to hit the ball was really difficult. So there's some amazing skills out there. And you're right, the change in the landscape of the demographics of particularly Melbourne, but Victoria and Australia more broadly, I can only see doing really good things for cricket. Like there's a lot of shorter competitions popping up with people from a range of different backgrounds playing in them because they want to play 5-6 weeks of cricket. They don't want to play a traditional season. They want to play T20 cricket with their friends. They want to pick their own team, and that stuff's really good. And their heritage, it comes out through that and their teams. And we've also got all abilities competition in Melbourne, the Blind Association. There's a deaf cricket club that play in a local cricket competition as well. So there's access to programs for everyone, and it's just great to see and hear that, because I think if I wasn't involved at Cricket Victoria, at times, if you're in your own little world, you might not hear about it as much. But to see that and see the impact that has on people's lives and the commitment that some of these groups go to play in competitions where they're not professional, they do it for the love of the game, but to go play for the Australian blind cricket teams, a massive thing for them. And
amazing,
to see the joy that gives them, it's incredible.
Yeah, look, you've mentioned joy a lot, and joy, community, spirit, all these things. It really is. It is an amazing part of the game, isn't it? And it's when you see people just enjoying themselves. And you've touched a bit there. I was going to ask you, what do you think? Where do you think? Not just the game's heading, but because this is less a podcast about cricket, but really interested in what you're doing, mate. How old are you, Josh?
28.
So still a young bloke, blimey. But
still very young. I don't feel it. The body feels much older than that, unfortunately. But
a few aches and pains.
Yeah, still trying to be young at mind.
Good on you. Yeah. Look, so where do you think? What's the future hold for you? Do you think, Josh? What are your aspirations for the future, and not just career-wise, but life-wise?
Yeah, I think the key thing about it is, making sure that in life-wise, I just have a really good balance. I enjoy being, I think, challenged and progressing and learning. I think learning's the key thing. Like if you continue to learn throughout time, it keeps you on your toes. You feel like you're growing as a person, and whether that's connecting, learning in volunteer capacity and roles, or learning in a professional capacity, that's probably really important for me. Probably haven't done as much of it lately. I probably need to get back on the learning bandwagon a bit, just to keep the senses sharp and engaged in that sense. But otherwise, I think it's really just trying to stay connected to community. Like I haven't done it yet moving down, but I think there's an aim to get back involved in previous cricket club in whatever capacity that is. Probably not playing full time, but playing in some capacity and seeing old friends that I had there and being involved and putting my hand up where they might need some assistance to offer my support, and then just trying to spend some probably quality time. And I think that ranges from things as going for a walk on the beach with our dog Kevin, and just
I love the fact that your dog name is Kevin, by the way.
Yeah, it always gets that response.
Terrific.
It always gets that
I had
response.
A poodle called Craig when I was a kid. Same thing. People are like, you called him what? Craig, Kevin.
Human names are the best names for dogs. They're the best names. It's one of those things, I think, with dogs, is that when you come home and they're so excited, it lifts your day. It doesn't matter how bad your day or good or day is. It all change when you see their smile. Like they come bounding up to you and try to climb up and jump on you. But I think just trying to make sure that there's a good balance of living life and working. I think that's the thing I'm trying to concentrate on at the moment, is making sure I do those things that I know I enjoy and I enjoy doing with my partner. And whether that's going away or staying at home and just enjoying what's around locally. I think we'll get to do that for a few years now. That won't wear off for a while. I'm trying to soak in as much as we can here.
Yeah. Last thought, really, and it just came to me as you were speaking, this sense of presence. And you mentioned when we started our discussion, this idea that, you being able to be present with your family, your grandparents and all this sort of stuff. And, this idea of going for a walk with your partner and Kevin and just present on the beach. And it's interesting, Josh, I get this sense that, just being able to be present in the moment that you're living seems something that's really important to you. Is that, have I grasped that correctly?
I think so. I think at times I don't know if I'm doing it. You sort of, I can probably get distracted to being present. I kind of lose some of the other senses and then looking around what's around me, being, what's particularly when we walk, we've got some really good viewpoints of certain things. And I think just being able to feel nature and look around at the ocean and sort of see what the presence that sort of provides, and taking that time just to stand and think. I think I've never been someone that likes to make decisions quickly, and having that opportunity to sit still and sort of think about something and make a present and conscious decisions is pretty massive. So yeah, it's a big part of, well, I don't intentionally do it, but I think it's something that I do that I think helps clear some of the chatter that can be in your mind. Happened the other night. I had one of those moments where the mind and the heart were racing. I just need 2 minutes to lie on the ground and just to clear my thoughts and get back to a place where I'm a bit more in the moment. So yeah,
it's so interesting, mate. And of course, when we had our sessions last year, we talked about this connection to self and being able to quieten the mind. And of course, being out in nature, you mentioned just lying on the ground, being grounded, right, can help the mind just sort of calm down. And I always, talk to people about, feeling rather than thinking. Feel what's coming from inside you, and listen to that voice. It's like set your sail towards resonance. Where's the resonance? Move away from dissonance, things that just don't feel right. Feel like you've got a stone in your shoe. Versus, gee, this feels really good. And it makes me think about your move down to Ocean Grove. You had, you liked living in Melbourne, it was fine, but increasing dissonance, sort of like, you're away from your family, just didn't sort of feel right. And you've responded to that and you've up and moved. And I think there's great merit in feeling your way forward as opposed to, I think we've got to make decisions, obviously, at some point, but people tend to focus a lot on the intellect. We balance this with that. And I'm like, well, how does it feel? What feels right for you in this moment? And where do you think you might feel happier in some years' time? I think that this is what I talk about a lot with this concept of a different way. Let's get connected to quieten down the mind, find what it is for you. I like walking in forests. You can walk on the beaches there and things like that. Find that ability to quieten the mind and let the wisdom from inside come and guide you. Seems to be a path that's helped me, and sounds like you're doing something similar, mate.
Yeah, definitely. There's certainly times where you just need that space to think and, as you say, kind of let your heart take you in the direction. And that's tough for me because I think a lot of times at work, in other aspects, I quite like to be a bit analytical about decisions and what's the pros and cons. But yeah, I think the move was a great example of something where we looked at the pros and cons, and that comes with, financial impacts, etc. But what's it good for your life and, your heart and where you want to be and what you want to do with people that mean the most to you. So, that's certainly something that, helped steer the way.
Sounds like a lot of wisdom in that for a young fella. Good on you, Josh, and been great talking to you, mate. And I look forward to keeping track of Victoria's being a Victorian. I like to see that Victoria's doing well in the cricket, and knowing you're out there supporting all of these people to play the great game gives me a lot of joy. So, thanks very much for talking to us today, mate.
Thanks for having me on, Scott.
Yeah, good on you.